All right, let's go to One Nation because I think they're all over the shop. I'll get to David Farley in a moment, but just the lack of clarity, you saw Cam's package there, different senators making different points in relation to net negative migration. Is it the 130? Is it a nom, as Farley said on the weekend, close to Labor's numbers? They have a big trust value when it comes to migration. Is this eroding that trust?
Are people paying attention to it? That's the question. Obviously it should, and if we were in an election campaign it would, but we're not. So really I just wonder how much it's being noticed by people, but I guess it shows sort of an issue, an underlying issue, that they can't stay coordinated in the way that a proper major political party of government can. Can't stay coordinated on policy or message. So that's going to be a big challenge going forward unless they improve how they're going.
For my view, I think the punters out there are not picking this up. They're not particularly interested. And I think that One Nation is so far in front on the issue of migration that there's a discount factor that people will let them get away with. But I think it says to me, and I think it says to you, that the policy back end now, the coordination, the messaging, as they get bigger, as they have more big voices, and it's not just Pauline's voice in daylight. I mean, there's a lot of big voices in that tent now. That's the problem they're having, and it's whether they can get through these teething problems or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Chris Kenny revelation tonight, which has been around in publications like The Guardian, but I hadn't seen, Peter, I must admit, which I ran on my show, that Pauline Hanson is the sole arbiter of who becomes the next leader, I find quite extraordinary. And I'd certainly be making hay of this if I were the opponents of One Nation, because that's not how a political party operates in a democracy. But there it is in black and white in the One Nation constitution. She decides who succeeds her. Not a vote of the executive of the party, of the caucus within the parliament of the party, of branch members as such. Pauline has the say. So that means Lee Hanson, if she gets in the parliament, maybe even if she doesn't.
Well, it's a red-headed monarchy, sure, but if that's what the members are happy with, and look at her membership numbers, the membership numbers are soaring.
They wouldn't know about this. They wouldn't know
I don't know
about
that
this.
that's true. I don't know that that's true. We'll see what happens with the fallout of the documentary later on tonight. Just quickly, that story about David Farley, accidentally, we're told, walking into a Liberal Party room meeting in Canberra and said, oh, gee, Liberal Party meeting, I could see myself sitting in here. Do you think he's going to walk? Do you think he's someone who is going to be a risk to leave One Nation?
Well, it's called flirting, isn't it, Peter? I think. Do
you think he's flirting now?
Yeah, I think he's. I mean, I had a call a short time ago from political sources, often been accurate, but I'm not necessarily saying this is true, suggesting that David Farley, who's now made a number of statements about we need more migrants, is willing to martyr himself over that and leave the party and perhaps become an independent or something else by the end of the year. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but I showed on my show Darren de Bortoli, who's a winemaker in the Griffith region in the seat, made a comparison to Helen Dalton, the state member leaving the Shooters and Fishers to become an independent and doing well. So I would not put money on David Farley by Christmas being a One Nation MP. That's what I'll say. We can play it back if you like later on.
Whoa. Okay, I'll put a marker right there on that one. That's very interesting. Hey, let's go to WA, that state by-election on the weekend in Secret Harbour. It's interesting because it's got plenty of federal implications here. The Prime Minister obviously in the West, but clearly told by head office, please, you've got to help us, boss. Don't go anywhere near the seat. Have a listen.
All right, see this. A political party surging in the polls, membership numbers through the roof, and yet quietly falling apart at the seams. Sounds impossible, right? Well, welcome to the wild world of One Nation in 2026. Quick favour before we continue, if you are enjoying this, smash that subscribe button right now. Most viewers have not yet. It takes 1 second, but it helps this channel keep going. Thank you. Now, let us continue.
I don't go to by-election campaigns.
You've campaigned in state seats, though, before.
I don't campaign in by-election campaigns.
Yeah, Roger Cook tried to mop up as well, saying, oh, look, you know, it's just a little old state by-election. But Labor hold the seat. Labor are desperate to keep the seat. And the Prime Minister happens to be in town and is told basically don't come anywhere near us.
Well, you don't go to a loss if you can help it, do you? One Nation's going to win that seat. So I reckon if you were advising the Prime Minister right now, you'd be discouraging him from going as well, Peter.
Let me play an exchange between the Liberal leader over there, Basil Zemplis, and the member for Canning at a federal level, obviously, Andrew Hastie, and Canning overlaps in part Secret Harbour. Have a listen.
My approach has very much been see One Nation's rise as an opportunity, not a threat.
I don't accept this idea that a win for One Nation is a win for the Liberal Party. We're fighting for our lives. You don't wave the white flag.
Well, I think Andrew Hastie hit the nail on the head. The Liberals are running scared and running dead in Secret Harbour. They just don't have the guts to actually stand up for what they believe in.
Andrew, this is the strategic schism. Do you play nice with One Nation in the hope you get their preferences, accept you've lost votes to them, that they'll certainly have a primary vote pickup, as appears Zemplis is saying, or do you go at them hard? Do you make them the enemy? Do you fight them as hard as you're fighting Labor, as Andrew Hastie appears to be saying?
Well, they are an opponent, but you've got to hope if you're the Liberal Party, Labor's the main opponent. But I've been saying for a while I think the campaign ads will target both because they'll have to. But I just don't agree with... I think you've got to make the government... I mean, they are in power after all. The government's got to be the main focus. I think Basil's words were a bit clumsy, you know. I just think that's a bit crazy. Who else says that? You don't see Labor say if the Greens are about to win a seat, that's an opportunity or whatever. That's just madness.
Well, I'll tell you why that is, though. That's because Zemplis came in, you know, banging his drum, thinking he was a great big white hero. Yeah. And this looks like it'll be a defeat for him. So he has to now pivot and already now start laying down the ground as to why on Saturday night he's unlikely to deliver the winner. Yeah,
that's fair enough, but they're still really clumsy words. You could say something like the main thing is to wrest this off the government, which gives the Liberals the best chance of government. You don't say, you know, the One Nation... election is good. So I just, you know, Zemplis is very inexperienced still. I mean, he's got some big backers like over in WA, like the likes of Stokes and Reinhardt, I think like him and perhaps don't particularly like Hastie. So I think there's all that sort of politics in the background as well. I think you've got to say that the best chance is the Liberal Party all the way. You know, you don't go the expectation management yet. Do that afterwards, because I mean, otherwise, Hastie's right. You are waving the white flag. You're saying to people, well, when you turn up on Saturday, you know what? Don't vote for us because One Nation are winning anyway. Now, all of us think that, but you got to fight till the last minute, not do this expectation. 100%. If you're going to do expectation management, you background print journos on the phone, off the record, right? That's how you do it. You don't do it like Zemplis just did it.
Let us start with the mess nobody wants to talk about, migration policy. One Nation built its entire brand on being the tough, no-nonsense voice on immigration. But lately, their own people cannot even agree on the numbers. One figure throws out a statistic, another calls it anomalous, and suddenly the party that sells certainty looks like it is guessing. Imagine ordering a coffee and the barista can't decide if it's a flat white or a long black. That's One Nation on migration right now. And speaking of confusion, let's talk leadership. Here's a fun fact. Under One Nation's own constitution, Pauline Hanson alone decides who leads the party next. No vote, no ballot, no committee. Just one person, one decision. Critics have started calling it a red-headed monarchy, and honestly, the comparison writes itself. In a party riding a wave of grassroots energy, having zero democratic process at the top is like building a house on sand and hoping the tide stays out. Now, here's where it gets juicy. Enter David Farley, a One Nation figure who reportedly wandered into a Liberal Party meeting and, whether by accident or Freudian slip, said something along the lines of picturing himself sitting right there. He's also been pushing for more migrants, which is basically political heresy inside One Nation. Whispers suggest he could walk before Christmas and go independent, following the same playbook as New South Wales MP Helen Dalton, who left her party and thrived on her own. One thread, one loose stitch, and suddenly the whole jumper starts to unravel. But don't think the other side is sitting comfortably either. Over in Western Australia, the Secret Harbour by-election has turned into a fascinating case study. One Nation looks set to perform strongly, and Labor is reportedly so nervous that the Prime Minister has been kept well away from the seat entirely. That's not confidence, that's damage control. Meanwhile, the Liberal Party can't decide if One Nation is a threat, a rival or a potential ally. The state Liberal leader in Western Australia called One Nation's rise an opportunity rather than a threat, a comment that landed with all the grace of a screen door on a submarine. Federal MP Andrew Hastie fired back, insisting his party needs to fight for every vote like their political lives depend on it, because, frankly, they might. So here's the bigger picture. Secret Harbour is not just one seat in one state, it's a snapshot of a larger shift happening in Australian politics, where charisma and momentum are starting to outweigh tradition and structure. One Nation is expanding, but expansion without stability is a house of cards in a windy paddock. And the major parties? They're still figuring out whether to build a fence around it or invite it in for tea. One thing is certain, the next few months will tell us whether One Nation is building a lasting movement or simply enjoying its moment in the sun before gravity catches up. Thank you for watching. Your thoughts and opinions are much welcome in the comments below. Just try to keep it respectful. I'll see you in the next one.